All right, everyone, welcome into the NFL Seekers podcast. We got an exciting episode today. We're going to be going over our favorite and best fantasy football stacks. So, if any of you don't know what that means we're going to be stacking a quarterback with a tight end or either a wide receiver. And it always is kind of a good draft meta. One's kind of been underrated till recent years. But I'm excited for this episode. How we doing, Shane? How we doing, Dan?
Yeah, doing good. I'm excited to talk about stacks. Stacks are a very fun thing to try to do in your draft. It adds so depending on the stack you get, I guess it could add so much value to your team. It just makes it so much more fun when you're sitting there watching Red Zone and like you see that team come on. You're like, oh, I got this stack. It's like you're gonna get all that action.
And
It's just so much more fun.
your quarterback throws a touchdown to your receiver on the same team. You're like, there goes
It's the best. It's the best feeling. It's probably one of the best feelings ever when you see your quarterback throw a touchdown to your wide receiver. It is like it's gold. So stacks are fun. We're gonna be talking about a lot of different stacks today.
Yeah, stacks always make your team so much funner, and it just makes watching football on Sundays funner. And I always try to target at least one stack for my main leagues, just because it makes it funner. And it also gives you higher upside. It really is a strategy that people are shooting for in higher upside formats like best ball and even dynasty. Stacks are really a strategy that help, and some of these top stacks that we're going to be talking about are going to be league winning for
100%. Yeah. And we're going to be doing a snake draft. And Shane's going to start us off with the number one pick. But yeah, we're just going to go back and forth. And how many did we decide we're doing again, Dan? Is it 3, 4?
Yeah, so we're gonna do 4 total rounds. The last round will be kind of a sleeper stack, one that's kind of a later ADP stack that we kind of are targeting in leagues that no one's really talking about. And then the first 3 will kind of just be drafting against each other, essentially ranking the stacks, but we'll be drafting stacks against each other.
Love it. All right. Should we get into it, boys?
Let's do it. And Shane's got the first pick.
All right. Cue the NFL draft.
Gosh. So this stack, I really think it's the best one to have. I personally had it last year. I don't want to talk about how it went for me, but I had him last year, and that's Mahomes and Kelce. Having basically the top player in the onesie positions, quarterback and tight end, that's a game changer. And the boom, just the pure boom games you get out of these two, which there's so many, that single-handedly won me weeks last year. So you're gonna have to draft Kelce first, obviously. If you're looking at about a mid-round, right now he's a middle of the first round ADP. You snag him on your way back. You got to hope Mahomes is there. Mahomes is a early to early mid second round ADP. So it's definitely a doable stack because Kelce could fall. People, tend to get scared out of taking a tight end early. It's a very doable stack, and if you can get those two guys your first 2 rounds, you're going to be looking solid going forward.
Such a fun stack. Overpowered stack, especially with Kelce being in the tight end position. It's so overpowered, and they're bound to score 1 to 2 touchdowns a game, especially because Travis Kelce is the clear cut number 1 and has been in that offense. And it's just Mahomes' favorite target. And you bet on those two getting 1 to 2 touchdowns to each other every single game. I mean, a worst case scenario, Travis Kelce is only scoring 1, but it's so fun to watch. And I was so jealous of Shane last year when he got this stack, and it was so underrated. But I mean, it won him a lot of games, and this is one of the most overpowered stacks you can have for sure. Rightfully so, going number 1.
Yeah, I'm happy you chose this one first because it definitely is the most valuable stack, and it's the hardest stack. Like technically, based off of ADP, it's impossible to do. It probably will be possible in leagues like Kelce will fall in some leagues. Mahomes will definitely fall in some leagues because he'll be the first quarterback. So it's definitely possible. And if you can pull it off, it'll be really fun.
It's crazy how much both of them have shot up. Last year, I got Kelce. I had the 11th pick in a 12-man draft. I took Kelce in the start of the second round, and I didn't get Mahomes until the end of the third round. So they both shot up entire rounds coming into this season. It's crazy.
And you still didn't win? What?
I still didn't win. Actually, I'll tell you. I will tell you why I didn't win because I took DeAndre Swift and he sucked.
What luck right there. All right, well, I'll get into my number 2 pick, which I'm really excited I get to talk about this stack. But this one's going to be Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. This is a super fun one. And again, this is kind of a hard stack to pull off as well. If you guys would be so kind to give the ADPs.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was
Yeah,
gonna
so
say,
Josh Allen is being drafted in the second round, the 11th pick in the second round, so the very end of the second round. And
I feel like
Stephon Diggs is being drafted as the 12th overall
So
player.
it's definitely probable. You might, if you really want it, you might have to reach on Josh Allen. Most likely in a 12 man league, you'll probably, if you're picking at the end of the draft, you'll probably be able to snag Diggs up. But this is a fun, it's kind of like reminds me of the Mahomes Kelsey, because again, Stephon Diggs, the true wide receiver one, the true target leader. He's going to go out there. You're banking on him almost scoring a touchdown every single game, getting tons of yards. And it's just one of the most overpowered stacks. I mean, these guys, top, it's like 1A, 1B type of stack to me right here.
Yeah, I think you know that you completely stole this stack from me, and I was going to take him at 3. I probably would have taken him at 1 just because I've been targeting this stack for years. It's just one of my favorite stacks, one of my favorite duos in the NFL, one of the most fun duos to watch. And I can promise you, if you have Allen and Diggs on your fantasy team, every Sunday is going to be really fun for you, and it'll make watching football a lot more fun because these two put up some incredible numbers, some legendary numbers, and they have a great connection. The end of the year was a little rough, but I think they'll figure things out, and I think they'll get back to their old ways. And they really do have such an electric connection. And if you can stack both of these guys that truly have quarterback one and wide receiver one potential, it's the sky's the limit.
Oh yeah, I was super happy when you put me at 2 because I knew I was going to steal this one from you. But yeah, this is, if you can have these two dudes, it's your team's going to be, it's going to be good. I remember somebody in our league ended up trading and having this stack, and we were all so mad trying to veto it because they're like, oh my gosh, that is just so overpowered, especially when Stephon Diggs was wide receiver one, I think through like the first like 11 weeks or something. And yeah, that's a game changing stack. I mean, you're gonna have to go early on these guys, might have to reach on Allen, but well worth it in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, these stacks, I mean, they're obvious. Obviously, they're amazing players to have, but they're doable based on their ADP. They're very doable, and I'm really personally, I'm going to try to do one of these first two. We'll see what Danny has. But these first two, I mean, that's game changing. Having a stack.
Get you excited.
Yeah. So I got 2 picks in a row now. And this first stack that I'm going to choose is one that includes the highest overall drafted player that we've talked about so far today, at least. And that is Ja'Marr Chase with Joe Burrow. Ja'Marr Chase is being drafted as the 4th overall player. So you're likely going to need a top 5 pick to pull this off. But if you can take Ja'Marr Chase and get Joe Burrow where he's going in the 3rd round, he's going as the 11th pick in the 3rd round. So you can easily get him as an early 4th, I'm sure, in your league. If you can pull off Chase and Burrow, it'll be so fun. Obviously, this legendary connection dates back to college, and they have such a fun, just good connection. It's just instinctual. Like whenever the play breaks down, Ja'Marr Chase will just get open and Joe Burrow will find them. They have a really, really great connection. And if you can pull this off in fantasy, it really could be league winning.
Definitely have to have a higher pick for Chase, but Burrow, very doable. Very, very doable stack for sure.
But if you do have the 3rd, 4th, 5th pick and you get Chase right around there, obviously you're going to be able to get Burrow a couple rounds later, but you may have to reach on him, especially I feel like there's a good chance that your league mates see that you have Chase and quarterbacks are going. You may have to reach above Burrow's ADP, but there's nothing wrong with taking Burrow above his ADP to have a stack like this.
What is Burrow's ADP right now? What round is it?
End of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th.
Very end of the 3rd round. So if you do get Ja'Marr Chase in your league, then just take Joe Burrow earlier than he's going because it'll be worth it. The stack,
like 3rd is just like right somewhere in the 3rd. I prefer Burrow in the later 3rd, but somewhere in the 3rd, I think you can't go bad with that because Joe Burrow might be a 40 touchdown type of guy this year. He just keeps getting better every year.
I think he could definitely fall into the 4th round in a decent amount of leagues too. Quarterbacks will fall in some leagues. So
Okay,
I'm gonna have
Danny, you're up again, huh?
Yep, I'm gonna have another pick here, and this one is hard. I'm deciding really between 2 stacks, and I'm gonna go Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown because I think that's just too good of a stack. I really wanted to go another route that I've actually done in real life in the past, but I wanted to go Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. I just think Jalen Hurts will be the second best quarterback at the end of the year, if not one. I think it's a lock that he's going to be a top 2 quarterback. And AJ Brown is just such a fun player. He has such big spike weeks. He can score up to like 40 points in some weeks, and Jalen Hurts can do the same with his rushing ability. I think this is definitely one of the more dynamic duos in the NFL. They have a really just good friendship off the field. They have a really just fun connection, and I think I'm definitely, if I could get Hurts and Brown, if I could pull it off, I would love it. It's not going to be easy. Hurts is going as the last pick in the second round, and AJ Brown is going as the second pick in the second round. So you really would have to.
That's a harder one this
be a
year.
little
This year
lucky,
it's harder.
and Jalen Hurts would have to fall, and you'd have to get AJ Brown a little bit later than ADP as well.
It's
If you could pull it off, it'd be such a fun stack.
Jalen Hurts, yeah, end of the second, and then AJ Brown, like you said, I'm just kind of like beginning of the second. It's tough, but I mean, come real draft season, there's always big changes. It's definitely a doable draft, doable stack for you, but that is AJ, just the pure touchdown potential right there from AJ Brown coming from your quarterback, Jalen Hurts. That is such a beautiful sight to see if you have those two guys.
Oh yeah, that's such a fun one, because then you even get Jalen Hurts running on the ground. He's scoring so many 1-yard touchdowns, and so you're really not feeling mad at it, because that offense is we're centered around both of those two. The air raid goes through AJ Brown, the run game and the passing game, obviously Jalen Hurts, and that is a fun stack, and I think we're gonna see bigger things from them here in year 2 as well. So that's a fun one, Dan. I thought you were going to go a different route. I'm super bummed. You got me back. That's where I was thinking in the second. You kind of threw me for a loop here, but I'm kind of I want to leave this one to Shane. The one that's going to come up, because I want to get my guys early, and I'm going to do it. So give me Justin Herbert to Keenan Allen stack.
Woo-hoo.
Give the kid his team. This is a very, very doable stack. This one you're not going to have to reach too early on either one of these guys, especially Herbert coming off of a down year where he was injured. I think his ADP is definitely too low for where he should be going, because I think he's going to have a big bounce back year with Kellen Moore. And then Keenan Allen's very underrated too. He was hurt most of the last season. And I mean, I guess he's not underrated. He's just injury prone, so people get scared of him.
Obviously it's a doable stack, but Herbert right now is going the last pick in the 4th round, and then Keenan Allen's going 3rd pick in the 4th round. So you're probably going to have, obviously this all depends on what overall pick you have. You're going to have to probably get Keenan end of the 3rd and then hope Herbert's there end of the 4th, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful, because then you have your first 2 picks, for whoever you want, so you're not having to reach on these 2 guys. You're feeling pretty good where you're getting them, and it's going to be a very valuable stack, because when Keenan and Herbert are on the field together, almost 80% of those targets, it feels like, are always going to Keenan. So, he's the most targeted receiver. He's the wide receiver 1, and Herbert's going to be throwing the ball a lot this year. So don't sleep on this stack. It's very underrated this year, and they're very slept on. So, if you have to reach on these guys, my best fantasy advice, go a little earlier on these guys, because they're underrated right now.
Yeah, I like targeting the Chargers offense in fantasy with Kellen Moore coming in. They're going to be really high powered and throwing a lot, like you said. And it is hard, because you could stack Herbert with Keenan, you could stack him with Mike Williams, you could stack him with Quentin Johnson if you wanted a high upside option. You could stack him with the running back Eckler, because he's essentially just a receiver. There's a lot of options with the Chargers, but I do like Keenan Allen because Herbert trusts him when he needs a first down, when he needs a touchdown. He can just fit it right into any small window, and he'll fit it right into Keenan Allen. He trusts him.
The chemistry is there, and like Dan just mentioned too, if we're talking, you can almost kind of consider Eckler a receiver, but that is a lethal stack to have. You're getting Eckler in the first round, and you want to pair him with Herbert. Then you're getting every single offensive touchdowns going through the Chargers. One of those 2 is going to be involved. Eckler scored 20 touchdowns last year, and then the rest were Herbert throwing through the air. So almost every single time that Chargers offense scores, you'll be getting points.
Okay, I got 2 picks now.
Your last 2 picks, or I guess your last 2 before your sleeper.
Yeah. I'm going to do, now this quarterback he's not, by all means, he's going to be a rostered fantasy quarterback, obviously. But it's the wide receiver that makes this so valuable, and that's Tua and Tyreek Hill. Um,
Oh, different route. Okay, I thought there was somebody else.
Me
I
too.
mean, yeah, we're both on the same page, and Shane wasn't.
what do you think?
No, I'm not saying.
I'm not gonna say
I
either.
already know. No, I already
Wide
know.
receiver one, just a hint.
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably two.
Matthew Stafford, Cooper Cup. Yeah. You'll see who I draft next. Okay, so Tua and Tyreek. It's Tua, his ADP. I mean, you can get Tua late. He's going end of the 8th round, and then obviously Tyreek, you gotta. He's going 8th overall pick. So it's doable. I mean, I don't think with a stack like this, you're not necessarily going into your draft saying I want to have a Tua Tyreek stack. It's gonna have to kind of fall into place like this. So if you do have the 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever pick, and you get Tyreek, immediately you need to be thinking about Tua. Even if you get him as a backup quarterback, like if you get a guy, one of these top quarterbacks still, I think you still need to try to have Tua on your team. Tua proved when he was on the field, he still can have those big boom games to either Tyreek or Waddle. I mean, he had a 51-point game last year, 35. This is full PPR, by the way. 51, 35, 30, 30, 22. I mean, then obviously he's out a lot. I think now with another full year under his belt, another offseason, hopefully he can stay healthy. This could be a very, very valuable stack to have with a very late quarterback to get like Tua.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really fun duo to have, especially in a high-powered offense. One of our buddies actually had this last year, and he had some really boom games. You know, it actually helped him win a lot of games. He had two. I think he picked him up off the waivers like week 1 or 2, and he was able to get Tyreek, and they had some big games. It is an underrated stack. You know, Tyreek any given game is going for 200 yards, and you know, Tua is throwing for sometimes 300-400 yards, you know, in those games. So it's kind of nuts. It's definitely, in my opinion, they're a little bit boom or bust together. But when they're right, I mean, it's lethal. It's a fun stack, and it's very doable. And I even think, you know, Tyreek might even fall to the end of the first round in a lot of drafts this year. And we don't even know what's actually going to go on with Tyreek. I know there's some law, some
No,
law.
I think it was dropped. I think it was dropped.
He's fine. He's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, but nonetheless, I think Tyreek is very, very, very doable to follow into the back of the first round, and then Tua you're getting way late, so that's very doable. I like it.
Yeah, Tua is a little inconsistent, and there will be a little bit of variance in inconsistent weeks. But he had a really unhealthy season. It was just a weird season in general last year, and he did have a lot of really high boom weeks that were league-winning weeks. And if you pair that with Tyreek Hill, who really doesn't have any bad weeks, he's always gonna get a long touchdown in every single game he plays in. It feels like. I feel like if Tua just stays healthy, this at Tua's ADP, this stack would be league-winning territory for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially I'm torn on how I want to do my real drafts. If I want to go early quarterback or go later, kind of like with a guy like Tua. And if you do go, you know, 8th, 9th round quarterback and take a guy like Tua, your team, I mean, you have so much potential and so many valuable running backs, wide receivers, and even a tight end in there. And then to have that stack of the potential of Tua, that could be a very, very good fantasy football team right there.
I'm also super torn on where I want to take my quarterback, and I think I'm just gonna let how my draft kind of flows just flow to me. And like if I get a Tyreek at the end of the first round, that'll really make me kind of think about waiting on quarterback and thinking about Tua in the back of my head the whole draft.
Yeah,
like if I can get in a situation like that, it'll really make me think about not taking a quarterback in the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to go into your draft with some sort of strategy and a plan, but drafts never go as the mocks and the preparation you do before. They never go as
Complete opposite.
You always want to go into the plan, but you just gotta let the chips fall the way they fall, and take the best available, but also build your team. Just always starts with the first pick. You know, if you take one of these guys that we mentioned in the first round, you seriously need to consider their stack. I guess their quarterback, which because obviously there's no quarterbacks going in the first round. Okay, my last real pick before our sleeper. I am not taking Matthew Stafford and Cup. I'll give my thoughts whenever. too.
Shane's still not on the same page.
I think Shane's forgetting someone, but I want to hear it. Let's hear
Just
it.
go on,
Oh.
Shane. Just go on.
Well, then I think I am going to take who you guys are talking about. It's Lamar
No.
Jackson and Mark Andrews.
No,
No.
but that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Good.
But no,
That's the obvious pick. That's the obvious pick. Don't go that
Oh,
route. Don't go that route. But that's
we're
the
talking
obvious.
about Kirk and Jettas. Okay. Well, so I went with
That's
another
the
tight
obvious
end
pick.
because I guess really just having the stack of Mahomes, Kelsey last year showed me the value of having a top one, but you get a guy like Mark Andrews, top two tight end. It adds so much value to your team, and that can single handedly win you weeks. Add in a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Obviously, last year it was a down year for Lamar. He was hurt. But I think through, let me just pull this up. Yeah, his first 3 weeks, I mean, he was full PPR points, 26 points, 48 points, 47 points. Lamar, I personally believe this is going to be a big bounce back season for Lamar. I really, really like Lamar. I want him. Having two guys like this with the rushing upside and pure boom potential of Lamar and just the safety of a tight end and Mark Andrews. I mentioned the onesie positions, that's quarterback and tight end. If you can just have those two on lock and just go stack up your running backs and tight end and wide receivers and not have to worry about your quarterback and tight end, it's a very nice feeling to have.
Yeah, 100%. Wait, Shane, can I just pause everything? And who were you going to take before Lamar Andrews? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, Lamar and Andrews was who I was going to take all along, and I was trying to decide on that Tua and Tyreek one.
Yeah, that hurt my feelings because I thought you forgot about these guys and I was going to be able to steal them. Dang it! But yeah, what an absolute stack right here, and again a very doable stack. Both of these guys I feel like you could both get fairly easy. I mean, not easy. You might have to reach a little bit, but they're not first round picks, so they're doable.
It is very doable. But so Mark Andrews is going beginning of the third round, and Lamar Jackson is going the last pick in the third round. So you're gonna have to take them back to back. So you just gotta hope they're there, but it's doable.
But if you're getting 2021 Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, you're sitting pretty. You're sitting real pretty. I mean, Mark Andrews actually was the 1 year in like the last 10 years that he actually beat out Travis Kelce for tight end one. And I think we're going to see them regain that form. And, I think with the additions of Odell and Zay Flowers, that's going to, get Mark Andrews a lot less covered, a lot less double teams and stuff over the middle. And so I think Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson are in for a huge year. And this is potential league winning territory if you're getting both of these guys. This is a lethal stack. The tight end quarterback stack is so fun to have too, especially when you're top end guys.
I love that stack. Not having to worry about your quarterback and tight end is such a nice feeling. Take it from someone like me who experienced that last year. It was such a great feeling to have.
Yeah, this is a steal because it's a super valuable stack. And I mean, the Ravens were so bad last year. Like, it was just such a disaster season, an unlucky season. And Lamar and Andrews were bad because of that. And that's definitely being factored into their ADP right now. Like, they're definitely being drafted behind where they would be in most fantasy seasons, I feel like. And I feel like their end output will definitely be higher than where they're being drafted.
100%. Love it. All right, well, I'll get into my last one. And I'm just going to take it because he's wide receiver one, Shane. He's wide receiver one.
I don't know why. I just I just completely blanked. I blanked it, but
give me Kirk Cousins and give me Jettis. And this is a not very doable stack unless you have a top two pick. And you get Jettis. But if you do, and it's very doable to get Kirk Cousins, you might not even have to draft Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins is a very underrated quarterback. I mean, in the last 3 seasons, he's thrown for over 4,000 yards. And let's see, 2020, 35 touchdowns. 2021, 33 touchdowns. 2022, 29. But 4,500 yards, 42, 100 yards. I mean, so Kirk Cousins is oddly consistent. And sometimes, I mean, he'll have his boomer bust games for sure. I had him last year through periods of time, and all of a sudden he'd drop a 30-point game. And then when I traded him for somebody and it caused a lot of drama in our league, he happened to drop a couple duds the next week, which, just good GMing over here. Good GMing. But he what do you finish his what ranking of quarterback? Because he's always borderline top 10, but he's very, I feel like he's always consistent and you can always throw him in there.
He finishes the quarterback 7. He actually had a lot of big weeks, with 20. He had 9 point games. This is PPR points, 9 games over 20 points, and he had a 40-point game and a 30-point game. In fantasy football, is that semifinals and championship week? Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was good.
And it's a fun stack because Kirk Cousins is targeting the hell out of Justin Jefferson every single game.
But
And it's
then
fun to watch.
Kirk,
You're getting points.
Kirk also has a great new weapon in Jordan Addison. And he has a great
Yes.
weapon in TJ Hawkinson. So, I mean, Kirk could finish better than quarterback 7 this year. Who knows?
Don't sleep on Kirk. Do not sleep on Kirk.
Yeah.
He's the most slept on guy in the league. He's so average, but he's pretty good. He's like average, but people love to hate him. But he's actually, he's better. He's better than what people give him credit for. And this is a stack I'd love to have if I did have a top 2 pick and was able to get Jettis, because and it's you watch these two play together. And I even think with Jordan Addison, I know we talk him up a lot, but Kirk is not going to target Justin Jefferson any less, even if he is triple teamed. They're throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson because he's just a different type of football player, a generational type talent. So we don't see Justin Jefferson's very often.
Yeah, I have no clue how you managed to get this at 8 when Justin Jefferson is always going to finish as the wide receiver 1 and Kirk was the QB6 last year. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Feels like a steal.
Pretty incredible to even say that Kirk finished in the top 6, and he obviously won't do it again, but he'll be a top 10 quarterback. I'm sure he's going to be solid again. The Vikings offense is good with O'Connell, and I think Addison will help Justin Jefferson maybe even get more touchdowns. So I that at 8 is just a complete steal. I love it.
Josh Doris.
All right, Dan.
Manager number 1.
Finish off the real draft before we get into our kind of sleeper stacks.
All right, yeah. So the last pick of the real draft before the sleepers is hard. There's a few guys I'm choosing between. There's Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, even though I already have Brown. There's Burrow and Higgins, even though I already have Chase. There's Tua and Waddle, even though Shane already took Tua and Tyreek. I wanted to go with an option that has a wide receiver 1 though, so I'm gonna go with Dak times CD. It's a little interesting because I'm not the highest on Dak. I don't want to take Dak Prescott in my fantasy football teams, and I think if I did, I would have another quarterback as insurance. But the only instance I would is if I took CeeDee Lamb, because I am really high on CeeDee Lamb. I think he's just such a good receiver, and I think he can take another step up this year and kind of break out again because he's just such a talented player, and you can tell he gets better every season. He's gonna have a full off season with Dak. They're both healthy. I think this stack has the upside to have a lot of variance, and it could be league winning territory at least if things click.
I think majority of that value would come from CD. As we mentioned, was in our bust episode last week. Stores had Dak on his list. Just where Dak is going, 8th round for Dak Prescott is just, we already talked about it. That just feels way too high. If you can get Dak at a good value, maybe after that 9th round, somehow he falls 10th round. And CD's going early 2nd round. But there's still a good offense. It's still it'd be a really good stack to have. It's just Dak is a little bit scary in that.
Yeah, 100%. But again, this lines up, people, here come August, when we're doing our fantasy football drafts, people might be getting a little scared of Dak and CD, but CD is going to have tremendous wide receiver 1 upside. I mean, there's no one that's going to be touching his targets. He's going to be maybe even getting 150, 160 targets because he's the true wide receiver 1 in that offense, and he's so far above everyone else. I mean, you got aging Brandon Cooks, and then really no one else to even write home about on that offense. So, he's going to be targeting CD a lot, and it could be a fun stack just because, those two will have a lot of touchdowns together.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting stack in the world with, Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy calling plays. It's scary, but I really do think the Cowboys are just such a talented team and offensive. It'll work in fantasy at least. I don't know about in real football, but I think in fantasy they can be a fine offense to target.
100%.
And you could even throw Pollard in there. I mean, if you get Pollard in your league, you might as well take Dak as your back quarterback too, because he's such a good receiving player.
Yeah, man. I mean, Dak still has a lot of good weapons. Obviously, he has a great weapon in CeeDee Lamb, but then he's got, if Michael Gallup can stay healthy, Michael Gallup's awesome. You got a veteran in Brandon Cooks in there. We'll see the rookie. Was that Schoonmaker, the tight end. He's got some good weapons, and then obviously Tony Pollard. maybe Dak will prove us wrong. We'll see.
Yeah,
100%.
hopefully. He has the upside to do so with his so many talent on offense. I'll get into my honorable mention / sleeper stack, and my sleeper pick won't surprise anyone that's watched any of our fantasy episodes before.
Can I guess? Wait. Can I guess?
Yeah, you guys can guess.
Russell Wilson, Jerry Judy.
Yeah,
No.
if
Oh,
you're
wait,
looking
what?
at my hat, it's
Wait,
not too
what?
surprising. It is Russell Wilson and Jerry Judy.
That is a sleeper one for sure. Okay.
It's a sleeper one. It's just a duo that I think is being underrated, and I think will they'll pay their value, and they'll improve a lot, and I think Judy can be league winning territory. He really has wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 upside, and I think Russ has to take a step up. He really just has to. He can't be worse than what he was last year. Sean Payton coming in is just a mastermind, an offensive guru, and I think Russ at the very least can be a serviceable fantasy quarterback. And in the case that you get Jerry Judy and he breaks out, and you get Russ and he has a good season and he goes back to somewhat old Russell Wilson, I think that this stack can definitely pay off. And last year, if you drafted the stack, you look stupid. I understand. I acknowledge it. That's why it's a sleeper stack. Russell Wilson is being drafted
The 11th pick in the 11th round.
So
basically, the stack you just talked about, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm sure what Josh talks about. They're all going to be quarterbacks that you can take way later. So it's basically you're going to be going to this draft not taking quarterback until a long time, and it's going to depend on what weapon you take, who was a little bit earlier, but still not too early. 5th, 4th, 6th round, right around there, something like that.
Good point. It's essentially like say you drafted Judy early in your draft. You're taking the chance. You're taking the bet that Russ is going to be good enough for Judy to be good. So you're essentially, if you have Judy on your team, why not take Russ? Or if you have Pickens on your team, why not take Pickett? Just those situations. I think that Judy and Russ can be one that really pays off this year.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's definitely one that I wasn't thinking of. I thought you were going to go in a different territory, so now you're leaving me 2 options that I only wanted to one. What? Oh, I thought he was going Lions. I thought he was going with those 2. And so I wanted him to do that so I could feel comfortable going with mine. And I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to go with Mr. Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. I'm very hyped on this duo this year, and Aaron Rodgers is being way too slept on. I mean, we're one season removed from MVP Rodgers, and Garrett Wilson almost is like a spitting image to me of a young Davante Adams. So this could be lethal. This could be league winning, and I'm here for the ride. And you're getting Aaron Rodgers very late for a Hall of Fame quarterback who I think is going to have like a Tom Brady type season with the Jets when Tom Brady went his first season to the Bucs. So very underrated, very excited. Get these 2 as a stack because they're not going to disappoint.
I'm really happy you talked about this one because this feels like the budget stack of all of these. It feels like if we drafted this in the top 6, it wouldn't be too big of a eye opener. I feel like Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson is a pretty incredible duo, and it really reminisces Rodgers and Davante Adams. So this stack has all the upside in the world. I really do think this could be like the biggest bang for your buck stack we've talked about all episode. It just feels too good to be true almost with their current ADPs and with the talent involved. And they're really like the 2 main guys on the Jets offense. It's not like there's a crazy second option taking away Garrett Wilson's target. So I really do love this stack. It's so slept on and a really easy one to pull off.
And they will be on my fantasy team. Thank you.
Garrett Wilson's going end of the 2nd round. So he's gettable. Just, maybe you have to reach for him depending on your pick, but then Rodgers is like in the middle of the 10th round. So you can get him whenever you want, basically.
Steal. That is just value all over it. And I want everything to do with that. Crossing my fingers, I can pull it off. I think I can.
Yeah, good luck with that, buddy.
I'll probably have Herbert. Let's be real. But I would love to have that stack.
Okay. To finish it off, I was torn between a couple stacks, but I ultimately went with this one because this wide receiver, he boomed late in the season last year, and that's Christian Watson with new quarterback Jordan Love. Personally, I do like Love this year as a late round guy in a situation like this, where you take quarterback late. I have no problem. I would no problem have no problem with starting Jordan Love as my QB1 week one. I would have no problem with that. And I have a guy like Christian Watson, second year. I've mentioned this before, I think multiple times, but the second year breakout in wide receivers is a real thing. And in a guy like Christian Watson who showed he can absolutely pop off, I think he's in for another, or not another, he's in for a big year to kind of continue what he was doing to end the year last year.
Yeah, I'm happy you talked about this one because this one is truly league winning upside. You can almost get Jordan Love undrafted. And if you have a like a dynasty league or a best ball draft, I really think this stack is one that is definitely one you need to target, and it's easily league winning. And if Love can just click, then
It might
crazy.
it might take a little bit. You know, you could draft Love. He's going end of the 13th round. So you can get him end of the draft as your second quarterback and just keep on your bench, and you can wait for him to break out. Obviously, like I said, personally, I'd be fine with starting him week one, depending on if I just go quarterback late. But you could draft him as your second quarterback and just wait for the breakout and then plug him in depending on who your QB1 is. If you go with, like a Tua and then Jordan Love, I mean, I'd be fine with plugging in Jordan Love if he proves that he can be the guy, and Christian Watson.
It's another one of the situational things. Like, it's just something you need to be aware of in your guys' drafts as you're drafting. Just be aware of other teams, be aware of your team, and just be aware if you have a receiver like Watson, take a quarterback and then make sure Jordan Love is your backup quarterback. You don't need to take Jordan Love if you don't have any Packers players, but just be aware of those type of situations. Those little things can really be league winning.
Yeah, that is definitely a dart throw, and I love it. I think that is so fun. I mean, there's a reason why the Packers, agreed to move off of Aaron Rodgers, and I think they've been sitting Jordan Love, and they might have something special there. I mean, he's got to sit behind one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it for a long time, and he has some offensive gurus, and he's got some weapons. And Christian Watson is going to be that number one, and young, lethal, and they seem to already have chemistry at the end of the year when he played a little bit, and it seemed like it was immediately there. So it seems like a low low risk, high reward type of value right there. So awesome pick. I'm glad you brought that one up too.
Yeah, last year Jordan Love never really got a chance, but I mean, like I mentioned, Christian Watson had that late boom. So weeks 10 through 13, he was the wide receiver 2, 5, 8, 6.
Yeah,
I don't know what took so long, but I just really hope he can keep that going start of this year.
Yeah, he truly is just upside. Watson is some of the most upside, and if you can get him in that range of receivers and just get Love as a option to have a stack later in your season, if they do click, then that's really fun. And I do want to say just a few other stacks, because I know that talking about this, there was a lot of fun stacks, and I just wanted to say a few others that we kind of really were excited about, and that's Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that one is just one that no one is going to talk about, and one that if you end up with Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to have just a great season. 6 weeks being pretty much their only receiving option, and just him in the slot. He already has a good connection with Goff. That's just a great stack. Another one I was really liking that I wanted to mention was Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. I think they're going to take a big step up in their connection as well. And then even like Purdy and Ayuk, or Purdy and Deebo, Purdy and McCaffrey, even just something like that because of how late Purdy's going. And then even like Trevor and Calvin Ridley. So there's a lot of fun stacks, and just keep an eye out with your rosters and try to get some of these later quarterbacks to stack.
I actually just thought, so the one when I mentioned I was torn between Love and Watson, it was between Love and Watson and Purdy and Ayuk. So I'm glad you mentioned them, but also Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, one of those two.
Even JSN.
I got another one. I guess I just love tight ends, Daniel Jones and Darren Waller. That could be a nice one. Danny, let's keep going so stores can't talk.
Let me say one thing real quick. Don't forget about stacking quarterbacks with running backs, because that's also very lethal too, especially
let me pause you. In PPR, in a PPR league, yes.
And especially if the running backs have high upside with receiving. So I mean, guys like Eckler, guys like McCaffrey, get these guys that can catch, and that's also a fun stack, because you're getting majority of their offense when you're getting a dude like that.
This was a really fun one. I love stacks in fantasy football. It just makes it more fun. And I wanted to do an episode like this. It was Josh's idea to kind of do a stack fantasy episode. So I'm happy we did it. And this was really fun.
Yes, sir. I love it. I love it. Let's do another one before the end of the year because I love this type of stuff.
What else could we do? We talked about all
We're gonna do just all running backs. We're gonna do all running backs. Running
What do
backs.
you mean? There's two, Eckler and CMC.
Don't Mixon and Burrow. That's a good stack. He catches.
Not really. No.
ETN could be a good one if
ETN
Trevor throws him.
Yeah.
I would say Rashad White, but he's got a nobody at quarterback. So
you can't be starting Baker in fantasy.
Nah, Baker has no business being on a fantasy football roster.
Tony Pollard and Dak, like Danny mentioned already.
Yeah, see where he
I was
mentioned.
spitting ideas already.
I'm gonna throw out one last one before we leave. Just the sleeper of all sleepers: Bryce Young, Adam Thielen. Don't sleep. Adam Thielen's gonna have a good year.
I'm
Kind of gross, but I like it.
Take a power nap on that one.
All right, fine. Bryce Young and Mingo for
Mingo.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Better.
Just kidding. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think all these rookies are gonna have fun seasons. Even stack CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson if you guys are in deeper leagues. But yeah, this was awesome. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for tuning in. Oh,
wait,
Shane has one more.
One more. Because I personally love this wide receiver this year, and I want him so bad. He's going middle of the third round. That's Chris Olave and Derek Carr. I think that's a good stack to have too.
Yeah, just because Chris Olave is going to be so good with Derek Carr, you already know they're going to have a good connection, and he's going to
don't sleep on Q either.
Yeah, who's Quentin Johnson? Like we said earlier, any Chargers player. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Wrap it up, Dad. Wrap it up.
NFL Seekers podcast. We got a fantasy episode every week. We got deep dive series coming out. Check out the NFL Seekers podcast on all platforms. TikTok too.
TikTok.
Peace.
NFL Seekers. Peace.